Conviction is not for cowards. I talked about conviction last week, heavily. And so today, I just got one point. This is actually a point that I made, but I use it as a subject. We really drove home the point of conviction last week. Conviction is not for cowards. Conviction is not for cowards. Because conviction, we said last Sunday, things that you're willing to live and die for. Something that you believe so deeply in your heart. You believe so that it really is your life. It's who you are. It's what you're willing to stand up for. And some other things. So I only want to go to what I tell you. Just click it till I tell you to stop. Keep going. I talked about Nelson Mandela, and I'll bring that back next week. All right. Here's 3 words that I want to give you about conviction. Go to the next slide. It's your purpose for being, your purpose for living. The reason why you're here. And everybody needs to have something that they're living for, a cause, as Dr. King said, that's greater than yourself. In other words, you're not just living for you. And this is where that the servant humanitarian spirit comes in. Living for something greater than yourself. Living for a cause greater than yourself. And in a world where it's all about me, selfishness, it has killed the spirit of being loyal. Friends are no longer loyal to friends. We're not, growing up in our era, we were, but today, friends were supposedly go to school and then turn around and kill each other over argument, and they've been through school all their lives because there's no loyalty in a selfish world. And so in conviction, you have to discover a reason for living that's greater than just you. It has to be a reason to live that's other than you. And when you understand that, you understand that in life you may be called upon to make sacrifices for the benefit or good of others, in spite of what it will cost you. But it takes a conviction. You have to be convicted to do that. Something about you. Purpose deals with your reason for living. And it's a reason other than yourself. Second, conviction deals with destiny. Now, when you look up the word destiny in this context and really get down to it, it says that which God has preordained to happen for you in your life. It's not really fate, F-A-T-E. It's what God has preordained that's going to take place and happen for you in life. Certain things are going to happen that God has ordained. Here's what it goes on to say, that within this, then, there are hidden powers lying within you that God has put in you to help facilitate and bring his predetermined or predestined will to pass. And conviction is how we activate those hidden powers to fulfill what God has preordained. So a person that doesn't live by conviction will never activate the power that God put in you to bring to pass what he has ordained for your life.
Yes. Wow.
I can't develop it today, the time, I'm not going to, but you got the gist if you can follow me. So everybody has certain blessings that God has put in your path for your life.
Amen.
That's going to happen. But he's also put hidden powers in you to help facilitate his divine will. That makes sense to you now. And so conviction is how you activate those hidden powers to bring the divine will to pass. So even though God has predetermined it, it is up to you to activate it. You activate it through conviction. So the person that won't take a stand will never release the hidden power to bring God's divine will to pass.
Hallelujah.
Destiny is the things that God has set in your path. And then he's put something in you that will snatch it. But conviction is what caused that whatever in you to activate it. So conviction is purpose. I know last week I talked a lot about dying and suffering and scared y'all, because I see what you're willing to die for. Everybody was scared, like, that's not for me to die. So I had to find, that was lesson 1. This is lesson 2. I always go to the next, how I work that. I told you I was going to be a series. But I had to get you to understand the magnitude of conviction, because now we understand how conviction will play out. And if you don't get to that point, that you have something worth living and dying for, then you'll never operate in the conviction that's necessary to activate and release these hidden powers that cause God's divine will to take place in your life. You'll be just sitting there. But conviction is what gets you to the point. So you got to be able to have something that's more important to you than yourself. And that's that's the great humanitarian spirit. That's the great servant spirit. That's the great sacrificial spirit. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever will. That's the humanitarian spirit. That's the servant spirit. That's the sacrificial spirit. Without that, you'll never get certain things that happen. Say this then. It's purpose. It's destiny. Last word, and I'll move to one example to close. Conviction, that's the scripture that goes with that. Go to the next one. Okay. Purpose, destiny, and say guts. Come on, say it again. Guts. So it's purpose, it's destiny, and it's just raw guts. Guts. Courage is one word, but it doesn't do justice to it. Guts is like another more aggressive word. Having guts. And if you don't have anything so important to you that you're willing to risk sacrifice, at the end of the day, it's not that you don't value things, you don't have the guts to do the things that are in your heart to do. Not because you don't like knowledge or ability, but you don't have guts. Lift your hand and say thank you. Thank you, Lord. I said this year would be a year of results. For me, that's the word for me that I shared with you. But I realized having results, getting results, meaning that this is going to be a year also that you're going to have guts like you ain't never had. Hallelujah. I got the scripture up there at the end to deal with that, but it's going to be, you're going to be challenged to the end. Let me give you one example of purpose, destiny, guts. Next slide. Remember the next slide? Story of Booker T. Washington. I had to study him in Atlanta a lot. That's why, you know, him came to a lot about his life. So you all know a lot, and I talked some detail about it. Next slide. Let's put a picture up there so you can have a visual. You can look at me, but just so you have a visual of it. We're talking about purpose. We're talking about destiny. We're talking about guts. Now we know he formed the school, Tuskegee, in 1881. I'll read a few things for you. He started with a one-room schoolhouse. And ultimately, it ended up being a thriving university that's still in existence, educating people all over the world, the country. Originally, it was called the Tuskegee Normal School for Colored Teachers. Listen to this. The Butler AME Zion, an African-American church, Lone, Washington, a rundown shack which served as his first schoolhouse on July 4, 1881. And he started with 30 students that he had convinced to come. If he didn't believe in himself and God had called him to do this, he would have never been able to achieve what he achieved. He didn't believe. And during that time, you know he had all kind of opposition because the laws were being against him. But remember the servant spirit, the humanitarian spirit, the living for a purpose and a cause other than yourself, and be willing to risk all for, and having guts. Because I'm sure he heard every reason why he couldn't do it, shouldn't do it, and everything else. Can I tell you what guts is in my definition another way? Don't ever tell me what I can't do.
Amen.
I'll die trying. I got the guts to believe. So he started with 30 students he convinced in a shack loaned to him by an African-American church. We might make these little facts out. Why they're important to me is because at least a black church had a building that it was willing to give to a cause. And here we are today with all of our mega churches and money and can't do nothing.
Come on now, man.
We don't have schools, don't have nothing. You know what? Because the enemy got us all thinking about ourselves, and we cannot work together. We cannot sacrifice for causes greater than ourselves, and that's a spirit that's got to be killed.
That's right.
For us to be able to achieve, because the truth of the matter, it takes more than just you.
That's right.
Hallelujah. They loaned him the shack to start, no charge. Not church won't charge for everything. Just money-hungry rascals. And the ones who doing, well, okay, let me not. Stay focused. But a black AME Zion church, same ones who funded the money to start Clark at Atlanta University, Morehouse College in Atlanta, those were AME churches who put up the money to start these, which are now universities that are educating people. I went to Clark myself, I learned the history, but it was through African-American churches. Like to me, we were working together then under harsher conditions. Now that we done got liberated and free and money, we can't come on to get on the same page about anything. What's going on here? But a spirit of division has crept in even in the church, and we don't understand sacrificing and so forth, unless it's for ourselves. We've got to kill that spirit. So he started it with 30 students on July 4th. Now, his philosophy was developing trades, and that's been a whole lot of argument back and forth. Him and Du Bois had issues because, Du Bois was believing in a more educated political approach toward gaining freedoms legally and so forth, and so he didn't really deal with it was just an issue about developing trades. But I do understand, and both of them had their part to play, and both of them were right. Sometimes it's not either or, it's both. But Washington's thing was, if you develop what King said, if you give a man a fish, he eat for a day. If you teach him how to fish, he can eat for a lifetime. That's Booker T. Washington. So by teaching you a trade, it makes you develop skill and labor, which you can hire yourself out to earn money. And you understand, when you got wealth, then you could become self-sufficient. You can support your family. You wasn't at the mercy of the government or nobody else. You can work for people because you had the abilities and skills to earn your living, do what needs to be done. And so he developed trade. Now, look at this. Because developing trade in all of this, and that's, again, Du Bois and different ones say, but you're doing what the white folks, they want to handle all the laws and politics, and we just do skilled labor and so forth and so on. But by him developing this philosophical approach toward skilled labor, he had, you can read it in his own history. John D. Rockefeller, I don't have to tell you who that is. J.P. Morgan Chase Banks, among the top largest banks, still in existence. Andrew Carnegie, three of the richest industrialists in the world, donated money generously because they didn't feel threatened by the fact that he's not trying to educate them to run politics. He's trying to teach them skilled labor. But the point is, he was able to get something. I often say, a lot of times, you just got to outthink the devil. Don't try to win the battle right now. Just play your cards right and outsmart the rascal. So by developing a philosophy that didn't seem to threaten them, they donated money. Lord have mercy. Big money. And here it is, because he had 100 acres on this little building. But from all of that heavy donation, Washington was able to purchase 100-acre plantation. The next year, in 1982, he goes and buys a plantation. With the money. And then from that went on, he went on to purchase more, up until I think he got somewhere over 2,200,000 acres. He was able to get the land. The white boy saying, oh, he's teaching them how to resurface and work. Okay, let's give money, we want that. But he didn't put it in his pocket. He bought more land, 2,200 acres, even today. And then from there, he started doing his building, expanding his curriculum. Well, they caught on then, like, okay, wait a minute here now. But too late, he got the land and the building. So then you know what happened. White folk closed up their pocketbook. He teaching them a whole bunch of stuff over there, more than just that, so they wouldn't loan him no money. He wouldn't give him no credit. He had every reason to quit. When he couldn't get loans and money to expand the campus with buildings and curriculums and so forth and so on, then Washington brought in people, God oh both shot, taught his students how to make bricks, how to make mortar, how to lay bricks, how to read and develop blueprints And he built his own buildings. So they were learning, hallelujah, on the job training. You won't give me alone. That's all right. I got the acres. I got the land. You done serve your purpose. That won't stop me. I'll teach them how to make brick. I'll teach them how to lay brick. I'll teach them how to read blueprints and develop them. I'll teach them how to start on this end and start on that end, but calculate mathematically the size of the bricks and how much space it to be, and they can start on two ends and meet at the same place with just the right amount. They can start anywhere, but they were learning all this to be applied to life. Why? Because he had guts. He understood what his purpose and mission, that this is more than just about me.
Yes, Lord.
And he began to build buildings. Thank you, Lord. So it became self-sufficient. He was able to get, I'm going to give you these names and you're going to close. Robert Taylor, who was a black architect, leading black architect in the country. David Wilson, first black landscape architect in America. They were all part of his faculty members and also founders along with Lewis Adams and George Campbell. George Washington Carver, also part of one of his faculty members. Among the faculty to teach, and you all know who that is. So in the late 1930s, the U.S. military selected Tuskegee. I gave you all of that to come at this in the late 1930s, to train the African-American pilots known as the Tuskegee Airmen, who fought in World War II. He started with a shack that was loaned to him by African-American church. Now the U.S. military say we want to come to your institution and train, educate the airmen that are going to fly our fighters and bombers. Mr. Freeman, we buried a few years ago. Mr. Freeman sat right over there with Brother Carter, sitting. Quiet gentleman, would never say much. He was a Tuskegee Airman. If you go to Tuskegee, his name is on there as one of the airmen. You didn't just have to fly the fighters to be a Tuskegee Airman. As a matter of fact, they said the whole Tuskegee Airmen, we think about just the flyers, but in the pilots, that's right, but the airmen who fought, the name also applied to the navigators, which they had the mechanics, the instructors, the crew chiefs, the nurses, the cooks. All of them are part of the Tuskegee Airmen. And Mr. Freeman was one of the cooks. We'll cook for him, but his name is on there because all of that comes on, even the nurse is part of the Tuskegee Airmen. Sitting right in our midst, he was a quiet, humble man. He didn't ever want to brag about it because he had a lot of memories. He said, I talked to him one day and he said, the memories were good, but there was also another time. And the stuff that we endured is something that I choose not to remember. So he remained humble because he had so many bad memories of how he was treated. He didn't really talk about it. And so, but his name is listed in Tuskegee right now as one of the top cooks. It's the airman. Right in our midst, we wanted no glory. It's a quiet, humble man. You don't ever know who's sitting in your midst a lot of times. The only point today, and I'm closing, was a man that had guts, because I know Booker T faced, he got told 1,000,000 times, you'll never do this, you'll never achieve this, this will never happen. But he also got white folks to donate in his cause, and once they got their money, he was able to take the rest and get other black architects and leading people to come and work with him to educate and train. And here it is, all of these years later, it is still among the top leading institution for HBCU, for helping educate, and it's recognized all over the world to the degree that the military said we wanted to be educated here because they knew what kind of teaching he taught. Not only just different courses, curriculum, but he taught disciplines and sacrifice and labor and work ethics and so forth and so on, so they chose that. The same ones who fought against him is now coming back to say, can you educate our men? In a time like that, that was guts. But he believed in something that was bigger than him. He knew that he had purpose and destiny. I'm saying this and I'm closing. He's no different than you. There's purpose in you. There's destiny in you.